let us show you how to make matcha ice cream at home with only 3 ingredients and without an ice cream maker. With our easy green tea ice cream recipe, you won't need any eggs or any machine to get this tasty matcha ice cream that comes with a lovely smooth texture and this beautiful naturally green color in a cone or a bowl. It takes about 10 minutes to make and will serve about 4, or less if you're greedy. Here are 3 ingredients you'll need to make homemade matcha ice cream without an ice cream machine: matcha, condensed milk, and heavy cream. If you're looking for a no-dairy version of our recipe, make sure you check out our other video where we make a vegan no-churn green tea ice cream that tastes just as good. Start by sifting your matcha powder into a bowl. You want to make sure that you've broken up any large clumps in the powder, otherwise it's going to be really difficult for you to mix it later on. There are many different grades of matcha powder which you can use, but we use culinary Japanese green tea powder rather than ceremonial. You'll still get that earthy, robust taste of matcha, but at a lower price. Now, we have used ceremonial grade to make matcha ice cream before, but we just didn't taste a big difference between the two for our recipe, so we do recommend you sticking to the culinary matcha powder that's a lot cheaper. Using a whisk, add in the condensed milk and combine it with the powder until you don't see any more lumps in the mixture. We've seen some recipes mix the matcha powder with water first and then the condensed milk. When we tried it ourselves, we got a slightly icy texture to our ice cream, which we don't really like. But if that's what you're looking for, feel free to add in a small amount of water. Let us know in the comments below if you prefer your matcha ice cream silky smooth or popsicle-like. Sweetened condensed milk is what gives our matcha green tea ice cream recipe that thick base. It also has the function of adding in a bit of sweetness that will balance out that grassy taste, which a lot of people think is matcha's bitterness. If you're worried about your matcha ice cream turning bitter, feel free to add more sweetened condensed milk or use less matcha powder. Out of the 2 methods here, we would actually say don't reduce the amount of powder you use at the beginning, as it's a lot harder to add in more later on. If you're like us and you love matcha's earthy taste and don't like things too sweet, you can sub out half of the amount of sweetened condensed milk we used here and replace it with evaporated milk on a 1-to-1 ratio instead. Personally, we love this version too, but to keep our recipe simple, we decided to only show you the one using 3 ingredients. Once you've got a well-mixed paste, put this aside. In a different mixing bowl, add in your heavy cream. Using a whisk, start whipping your heavy cream gently at a slow speed in one direction. Then slowly start to increase your pace and keep it up until you see stiff peaks start to develop. If you're using a normal whisk, expect to hand whisk for about 5 to 7 minutes non-stop. It's quite tiring, so you really need to work for a silky no-churn matcha ice cream texture here. You can also use an electric whisk, which will get the job done in less than a few minutes. Otherwise, you can use a semi-automatic whisk that you push up and down. We love using a semi-automatic whisk that will give you the results within 3 to 4 minutes. It's lightweight and the motion of pushing it up and down is not as tiring as hand whisking. So instead of spending money to get an ice cream maker, you can get this instead, which is cheaper and uses up less space to store. In our matcha ice cream recipe, we use heavy cream because it's what gives our homemade green tea ice cream that velvety rich texture when you eat it. The air bubbles, fat and sugar content inside this is also what helps to make it solidify into an ice cream later on. So it's really important you're picking a heavy cream with a high fat content over a lighter version. Our recipe will still work with a light cream, but it just won't give you that luscious texture. We've also made a vegan matcha ice cream recipe using coconut milk, which adds a lovely spin. Just like this recipe, our vegan version also doesn't need an ice cream maker, so go check out our other video if you're interested. Either way, you should end up with stiff peaks with slightly softened tips. Make sure you stop whisking at this point, otherwise it's going to start turning grainy. Add in your sweetened condensed milk and matcha powder paste. Then whisk it together until it's fully mixed. You can also choose to fold this in gently to keep the medium peaks, which will give you an even richer end product, but it won't be as nicely mixed. We have tried both methods, but we do prefer the first method of just whisking it together. Transfer the mixture to an airtight container or a metal loaf pan. Using a metal loaf pan will be easier to scoop it out later on, but we're using a plastic container since our freezer is small and it's more accessible to everyone. We also have wrapped it in plastic wrap so it's easier to transfer out later on, and if you want to cut these into ice cream bars. You'll want to freeze them in the refrigerator for at least 6 hours before serving. To serve, take it out and let it thaw for about 10 minutes so it'll be easier to scoop out. But if you want a smooth, soft serve-like texture, be patient and wait for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, these figures will also depend on your freezer and the room temperature, so take these only as a rough guide. Once you're ready to scoop it out, top it off on an ice cream cone or add it to a bowl with some toppings. Some toppings that go well with matcha ice cream are red bean, mochi, and condensed milk. Make sure you drizzle the condensed milk slowly and little by little, as your green tea ice cream will already be sweet, so you don't want to add too much in one go. Another matcha ice cream topping we really like is pistachio. We love adding pistachio because it's slightly salty and it gives a good crunch that really contrasts the smooth ice cream texture. A matcha ice cream can keep you awake because of the amount of caffeine inside, so it might even be a sweet swap for your afternoon coffee. Give this video a thumbs up if our homemade green tea ice cream recipe with no machine worked for you. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more matcha recipes.